Welcome to the IREL podcast. Are you sick and tired of real estate gurus pitching their next free construction deal, only to find out years later they were completely wrong? Worried the next overseas conference you spend thousands to attend will only be used to sell overpriced lots in deserted developments? Join thousands of other international real estate seekers who are looking for their place in paradise without the sales pitch. Straight from your host, Taylor White.
Hey, real estate seeker. Welcome to the Overseas Property Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor White. I am proud to say this episode is brought to your earbuds courtesy of my friends at Bed and Breakfast. If you own or manage a small inn or bed and breakfast, why don't you list it on the world's #1 online B&B directory that comes with an exclusive risk-free 90-day money-back guarantee? Head on over to irelpodcast.com/bed to get started. I am thrilled to once again head back to the land of amazing food and beaches when I sit down and speak with Eric Herman from Solutions Mazatlan in Mazatlan, Mexico. And as always, we'll get the true story on the local real estate scene and have you coming away wanting to investigate its local property market further or cross it off your short list entirely and continue listening. Right now from Eric, you will learn why someone born and raised in Northern California moved to Mazatlan and believes it combines the perfect work-lifestyle combination that you should consider. Reveals the brand new Durango highway cut drive time down by a full 5 hours and has already seen an influx of visitors as a result. Exposes what his clients are buying today with prices starting at $70,000 and going into the millions, and much more. And don't forget, if you're listening to this podcast and want to grab Eric's contact details, links on buying or selling Mazatlan real estate, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/46. Grill me up some fresh shrimp, make sure there's plenty of lime and salt, and get ready for Eric's insights. In case you can't tell, I'm excited. Let's get Eric on the phone. What's going on, Eric? It's Taylor White. I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, straight from Mazatlan in Mexico, so we can get to know you personally. Tell us more about yourself and where your stomping grounds were before you ended up in Mazatlan.
Well, I grew up in Northern California in the Bay Area, on the East Bay side. So I'm a Raider and A's guy, not a San Francisco team guy.
Can't trust you then.
I went to the University of California, Berkeley, graduated in '78. Most of my life in Northern California, I was involved in the construction sales and construction management. I enjoyed it because it is awesome to see something built that you're personally involved in. And I enjoyed the competition and the bidding process. And you dealt with some wonderful people. After living in Mexico for about 3 years, I fell in love with a beautiful Mexican woman, and I became an instant dad with 2 wonderful girls.
Well, Eric, it's always the women that does us in, but you are in Mazatlan. We have listeners from over 47 countries. What's the weather like today in Mexico?
Well, I think we got it'll be about 82 degrees as a high, a little breeze off the ocean, not too much humidity. Let's put it this way, the weather's perfect.
And then, Eric, make us a little bit more jealous. How far are you right now from the ocean?
Our office is a block from the ocean.
Love it. Awesome, Eric. And so we can get a better idea of you professionally, give us your brief resume leading up to Solutions Mazatlan.
Okay. Well, I moved down here about 13 years ago. And a little prelude. I started coming here in 1980. And the first time I was here and fell in love with the city. But in the year 2000, I decided to make the move full time. And at that time, Mazatlan was pretty quiet as far as real estate goes. And then a few years later, things started taking off. People started to see the potential of the city, and it's probably the most affordable beachfront community in Mexico. I saw an opportunity to help people see the Mazatlan I had learned to love and find a place of their dreams. I worked for another company previously before joining Solutions Mazatlan, but the broker here and I had developed a great working relationship, and when presented with the opportunity to join them, I jumped.
And then, Eric, I wanted to follow up. Do you guys handle sales, buyers, as well as vacation rentals?
Absolutely. We do sales, vacation rentals, and also long-term rentals, because sometimes you get people here for a year or two, and they want to make sure this is the place for them. And so we do that as well.
And then, Eric, why don't we delve deeper into Mexico as a whole, and then why you chose Mazatlan in particular versus other hugely popular spots?
Well, as I said previously, Taylor, I came here in 1980, and I immediately fell in love with the place. There was just something magical to me. What I liked about it was that it's a real city. Although tourism is important here, it's not the main source of income like many other Mexican resort cities. And most of the Mexican people who live here are from Mazatlan. So I think there's a certain pride that the Mazatlecos have that isn't found in other cities. And just the natural beauty of the city with the beaches and the bay. It's also the shrimp capital of the world, which makes for great eating.
I love shrimp. And then, Eric, so we can get a quick geography lesson. We see Mexico. Where's Mazatlan located?
Probably the best way to say it is if you know where the Baja California is and say Los Cabos and La Paz, we are directly across the Sea of Cortez.
So when we come and see you in
latitude.
Mazatlan, do we fly into Los Cabos and drive to Mazatlan, or do you guys have an airport there?
Oh, no, we have an international airport here. But I'm just trying to give you an idea of kind of where we're located in the scheme of things.
Of course. And then, Eric, we have gotten to know you both personally and professionally, reasons why you chose Mexico and why Mazatlan speaks to you. But get ready, because now it's time for us to pick your brain on the local real estate scene and to get the juices flowing. We're going to do a quick round of what I like to call the real estate hot seat. We'll ask you 5 rapid fire questions, and you give me an answer in 15 seconds or less each. Eric, are you ready for the Mazatlan hot seat?
Let's rock.
All right. What currency is real estate priced in?
Most of my clientele it's in U.S. dollars, although we also do properties in Mexican pesos as well.
Is owning property as a foreigner legal?
Absolutely. But if the property is located, say, 50 kilometers from the ocean, it has to be held in a bank trust with a Mexican bank. And the banks are highly regulated, so there's no concern. In fact, I own property here, and it's in a Mexican trust, and I have no worries about that. The property I own is, it's held in a bank trust.
Can property be titled?
Yes, when you buy property here, and it is held in a trust, it is in your name as the beneficiary. The bank acts as the trustee, but it is titled.
Can money flow in and out of Mexico easily, or are there currency restrictions?
The only restrictions are on converting like cash transactions if you're bringing down a lot of money, but or there are limits on a daily basis. But as far as wiring money in and out, there's no problem, no concern.
And as listeners know, Eric, my number one question, what is your favorite local drink?
Margarita on the rocks, no salt, preferably while watching a beautiful sunset.
And then, Eric, I got to put you back on the hot seat for question 6 because you said Mazatlan is the shrimp capital of the world. How do you like yours prepared?
On the grill, baby.
On the grill?
Yep, you betcha.
And then what do you have for side dishes? Do you do like some rice or beans, or like what do you do?
That's up to my wife. She makes that call. But yeah, normally it's little rice and little beans and tortillas and little salsa.
Love it, Eric. You are off the hot seat, but it's time to zero in on the local real estate scene. Give us your brief synopsis on the local real estate market over the last few years, where it is today, and where you see it heading for the very near future.
Well, we're seeing an uptick this year. We're not immune to the global economy, no more than anyone else. But as things improve throughout the world, particularly in the U.S., we see the benefits. Another big benefit to Mazatlan has been the opening of the Durango Highway, which has cut driving time from the interior of Mexico from 8 hours to 3 hours. This opens the Mazatlan real estate to another market.
Wow, that's huge. When did that highway go in?
They've been working on it for years. It just opened the middle of October, and this is kind of a funny story because it is a toll road. But for the first 2 weeks, they opened it. There was no toll. And Taylor, I got to tell you, one weekend we had 10,000 vehicles from Durango here. You couldn't shake a stick at all the vehicles from Durango. So they're giving it a taste of Mazatlan, and it's really going to help us.
Well, I love that. And actually, I want to follow up, Eric, if you don't mind. Would you consider Mazatlan a big town, or is it considered a small town, like in your eyes?
Everybody asks me, what's the population? And I guess it depends on how big a circle you want to draw around it. But we have like
Right.
a half a million people. We have like half a million people here.
Eric, why don't we move on to exact locations? What streets, neighborhoods, or parts of the city are we talking about in Mazatlan?
Well, that's the great thing about Mazatlan. It's so diverse. Many people love the Centro Historico area, which is the cultural center of Mazatlan. You have theaters, art galleries, and many upscale restaurants. Other people like the Golden Zone, which has a lot of activity. There are bars and restaurants and great beaches. And if you go farther north to the Cerritos area, you have tranquility and probably the best beaches in Mazatlan. It's absolutely beautiful.
Eric, I was curious to know what kind of clientele do you normally deal with in your business?
Everybody asks me that, and it's all over the board. I deal with people looking to spend, well, right now I'm dealing with somebody who wants to spend $70,000. I deal with people who want to spend $500,000. That's the great thing about Mazatlan as well. You can get a nice property for all sorts of different prices all over the board.
Okay, Eric, now that we have locations in mind, what types of properties do you recommend? Are we talking about buying pre-construction units for capital appreciation that we later flip? Are we talking about buying completed apartments, houses, or office spaces to generate rental income? Or are we talking about buying land to either sell as is or subdivide into smaller tracts? Eric, give us a better idea of what you're talking about today.
Well, actually, Taylor, we have all the above. And to me, it all depends on the wishes of the buyer. I always try to listen to what my client is looking for. For me, it's not one size fits all. In our inventory right now, we have a fixer-upper for a bed and breakfast. We have a beautiful beachfront luxury properties for people who want a place to live. And we have pre-construction units for great prices. Tell me what you want, and I'll find it for you.
Okay, Eric. Now I'm going to hit you up with a two-part question that I know everyone wants to know, and you have to give us a general range. So we have some price points in mind. Here they are. Part one. What would be the price range of what we're talking about? Maybe give us a starting price point at the low end to a final price point at the high end. And just to clarify, I'm talking about total purchase price.
Wow, that's a wide range. You could start about $65,000 to the sky is the limit. But I will say that our sky is not quite as high here as some other Mexican resort cities. You'd be hard to press to spend more than $1 million here, and you can get something great for $500,000.
And then why don't we transition to a part two? What would be the cost per meter just for a general range?
The big factor in this question is the price of the land. Obviously, beachfront land is normally going to be a lot more expensive than other land, but just to ballpark it, say $450 per meter to $2,500 per meter.
And then, Eric, I wanted to do a part three as a follow-up. What's the sweet spot that your clients normally deal with? Do they look for properties priced at $100,000 or $300,000, that kind of thing?
Right now, the strongest market down here, people are looking between $100,000 and $200,000.
And then do they expect to live in it full time, do you think? Or do you think that they're going to spend a few months out of the year there in Mazatlan and then the rest of it back in their home country?
We get a lot of people, a lot of snowbirds, and they're here for 5-6 months out of the year when they're freezing their rear ends off in Canada or
Right.
North America, and then they'll travel back during the summer. But then they always come back here around October and November.
Okay, Eric, this is a question I like to call, what would sister do? My 40-something-year-old sister calls you up, says she has X amount of dollars to spend. You can't let my sister down, Eric. Share with us 3 examples you would show her and explain why these make sense.
I'd probably start with a beachfront condo in Cerritos, since beachfront for the most part always holds its value. I'd also suggest a house on the golf course, like say in the El Cid neighborhood. And number 3 would probably be a property in Centro Historico, because it has become a really hot area.
And then, Eric, you've mentioned 3 different areas. Just curious, like drive time wise, let's say, how far are these from each other?
If you drove from, say, the farther north, which is Cerritos, down to Centro, we're talking maybe a half hour. They're not that far apart.
And then, of course, the historic center would be right in the middle, right?
No, actually, that's in the
No.
farther south end of town, actually. That's where the cathedral is, where the market is, and that's where Mazatlan really started, which is farther south, and then it started to develop north.
And then do you have expats that predominantly go to a certain area, or do they go to all different areas?
All different areas. It depends on what everybody likes. Some people they love the beaches. They want to be away from everything, so they go farther north. Where I live, which is basically in the Golden Zone, we live across the street from the ocean, but there's still a lot of activity there. But the people who go to Centro, they love being close to the theaters. They love the arts. They love everything that's going on down there, which is really a lot is happening down there right now.
Okay, Eric, we are laser focused on areas of Mazatlan. We know our starting price point. We have an idea of cost per meter. We have examples which are good enough even for my sister. Now, I have to ask an obvious question, Eric. How are we going to buy? Do we need to come in with all cash, or can we come with a certain percentage down and get local financing from a bank or credit union?
Unfortunately, at this point, there's no financing available for foreigners from Mexican banks. I know they're working on that, but at this point, you're probably going to have to come down with cash. Most people do like home equities up north, and there's some great rates you can get in Canada as well as the U.S. on home equity loans, and we help people with that. We have somebody we work with up there who does a great job.
So then, Eric, talk to me. Is this true that there used to be mortgages in Mexico during the boom, of course, and then after the fact, now there's no mortgages in Mexico? So if you're an expat coming to Mexico to buy, you will not get financing from a bank.
At this point in time, there's none available, unfortunately.
Right. And then do you have, is it common for buyers to get seller financing, or is it better for them to get financing in their home country, whether the States, Canada, or someplace else, and then bring their money with them to Mexico?
Well, sometimes when you're buying in a development, the developer will offer financing. Sometimes, a private seller will offer, private financing on their own. But the best is to secure your money up north and then have it available to buy down here.
And then do you guys have any pre-construction buildings or buys going on right now in Mazatlan?
Yes, we do. Yeah, they are available.
And would those developers kind of stage out payments where you might put down 5 or 10% at the start, and then during the construction period, you might pay more as you go along?
Absolutely. We do have that. Yes, we do.
Are those kinds of things risky today, do you think, or is that something that you might recommend to people?
I think you have to check, say, the track record of the developer, and that's true anywhere.
Of course.
Just be smart. Just be smart about it.
Okay, Eric, anyone who has ever owned real estate can tell you, you need to have a money exit strategy in place even before you buy. It's something what I like to call, where's the cheddar? You are buying the property to do what with it to make some money. So, Eric, where's my cheddar?
The way I see Mazatlan, I think the property, it will appreciate. And another way you will make money down here, and it's strictly is the cost of living. It's just so much cheaper to live down here than it is up north. And it's the other thing, and it always gets me, how much is your life worth? The living down here is so much healthier. You're out in the sun. This is a great walking city. The fruits and vegetables are fresh, and as opposed to some of that fast food garbage everybody eats up north. It's just a healthier lifestyle. What's your life worth?
And then, Eric, before I let you go, I have to ask, I know that you said that you're from Northern California, and now, of course, you're in Mazatlan. Can you better explain what your cost of living is like now in Mazatlan versus being in Northern California?
Oh, God. Where do I start? Just say property taxes.
Right.
The house I owned in California, I was paying, I think, $5,000 a year. Down here, I'm paying, I think, $300 a year. We shop at the local fruit stores and grocery stores, and that's got to be, half. A water bill down here is like, $5 a month. The garbage pickup, that's included in your property taxes. We're up there, you're paying anywhere from, say, $70 to $100 a month. So it's substantial. It really is, Taylor.
And then what would you do as far as health care?
There's a couple things you can do. I have a Mexican government health care down here, which is like catastrophic. And,
Right.
and lucky for me, I've been very healthy. But if you do have a problem, you can run to a doctor, and for $20, they'll give you a checkup or whatever. There's a personal story. I have a friend from California, and he was down here with his father, and his father was just not in good shape, and he needed to go for a CAT scan. And, I know up in California, and Canada's even worse. You have to wait and get in line, and they went down the same day. And it was like $100. They were able to perform the procedure, and no waiting. I mean, it was like a 10-minute wait.
That's fantastic.
It's amazing. It's just different down here, Taylor. It really is, and different in a good way.
Okay, Eric, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to share with us about Mazatlan real estate. We have heard about your journey, why you chose Mexico, exact areas to focus on, price points to look out for, examples, good enough even for my sister, a money strategy to purchase, and then what we might do with it after the fact to make some cheddar. Unfortunately, it's time to say goodbye. But before we do, share with us easy ways to get a hold of you, any parting advice you might want to share, and then let's say goodbye.
Well, yeah, I'm easy to get a hold of. My phone number down here, we have a U.S. number, 619-550-2675. You can email me at mazrojo, MAZROJO, @gmail.com. And so those are the best ways to get a hold of me.
Love it, Eric. I have really enjoyed this conversation, straight from Mazatlan, Mexico to our earbuds. And I hope we can catch up again in 3 to 6 months.
Give me a buzz, Taylor. Love to talk to you again.
I want to thank Eric once again for taking us back to Mexico and exposing why Mazatlan is fast becoming the go-to destination of choice for quality of life lovers in Latin America. Eric is another U.S. expat turned Mexico real estate insider, and I can't wait to get him back on the show again soon with more specific Mazatlan real estate investments he believes you need to hear about right now. If you're listening to this podcast and want to grab Eric's contact details, links on buying or selling Mazatlan real estate, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/46. Listening to Eric has gotten you all excited about Mazatlan, and you want to start getting Mexican real estate listings via email. You want to be in the comfort of your home or office, and you want to see the property's pictures, details, and prices all at your fingertips. And of course, you want these completely free. Head on over to irelpodcast.com/46 and get signed up for our free property alert service for Mexico. And each time a property is listed by an owner, agent, or developer, you get them via email. What are you waiting for? Head on over to irelpodcast.com/46 and get signed up.
You have been listening to the IREL Podcast with Taylor White. Be sure to hit up irelpodcast.com for more. That's irelpodcast.com. Thanks for listening.